like before any of us could drive or anything, like one of his dads would give us a lift there or something, and then they'd be getting propositioned while they're waiting for us, like prostitutes knocking on the window and stuff, all that kind of stuff.
Just give him half a chance, I bet he'll rob you if he can.
But I mean, it weren't just prostitutes as well. Like, we'd have his instruments in his hand, like guitars, and then there'd be these guys coming up to you with a carry bag and like, saying, "How much are them guitars worth, lads? How much can I get for one of them?"
When the Sun Goes Down came out on the 16th of January 2005 and went straight to number 1. At the time, the band were playing alongside Maximo Park, We Are Scientists and Mystery Jets on the NME Awards tour, and despite insisting Maximo Park have the headlining slot, there was no avoiding the attention that was surrounding the band. NME editor Conor McNicholas.
The Monkees were very keen to play the magic opening slot on the NME Awards tour. They were finally persuaded out of it by the fact, one, who the hell else were we going to get to follow them? We'd need 3 bands to follow them, which was just never going to happen. And secondly, the promoters SJM finally turned around and said they couldn't physically handle the security of getting that many people into the building for a 7:30 start. Literally, they were worried about doors opening and people getting crushed. And it was only then that we were able to persuade the Monkees to move up the bill.
And the album hadn't even been released yet.
Normally, as in kind of anything to do with records or films or TV programmes, you make these things months and maybe even years before they eventually come out and people judge them and enjoy them and stuff. But this was so intense and so quick that literally we'd finished mixing the last tune and there were stories in the papers and involving the band in such a hyper way. It was incredible. You couldn't not be taken up by this is going to be big.
As it happened, Domino brought the album release date forward to January the 23rd, with high demand being cited as the reason. But when it hit shops, no one had ever seen anything like it. On the first day, Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not became the fastest-selling debut rock album in British history, selling just under 120,000 copies. By the end of the week, the album had sold 363,000 copies, more than the rest of the top 40 combined, making it the fastest-selling debut album in British history. As befitting the best new band in the country, the tabloids went promptly bananas, with stories like
Arctic's boost to cider! Chart toppers Arctic Monkeys have triggered a massive boost in sales of their favourite tipple, cider! Ian targets
and
the Prime Arctic Monkeys! With all that chart success, you'd think Alex Turner would be shopping in Harrods, but he was seen in Sheffield gathering up Primark polo shirts from the...
And of course...
But you look good on the bedroom floor. Alex Turner turned down a date with Kate Moss after taking advice from his mother. Alex met the supermodel at an Arctic
But despite this, the band refused to play the media game. They politely turned down most interviews, avoided red carpet parties, and they turned down Top of the Pops when they found out they wouldn't be allowed to play live. And when they won the Best Newcomer Award at the Brit Awards, their acceptance video featured Keith Murray from We Are Scientists pretending to be one of the band. James Ford.
Yeah, they're just they're really young and full of energy, but they've just got this weird thing of they're just switched on. They're just got good heads on their shoulders and they know what's going on, and they're running it as well. They're making all the decisions because they were so hyped when they did all their deal and everything. They can pretty much do what they want, and they didn't ram that first album down everyone's throats. They could have done it much more. And I think they're a great British band with lots of integrity.
Their whole attitude is about not playing a press game. They're true to themselves. I'm sure that in 10 years' time, they'll all look back on everything they've done and they'll just go, well, we did it for the right reasons. And there's not many people who can say that.
The mainstream media had seized upon the MySpace element of the band's history with renewed vigour. Up until this point, the internet had been seen as potentially the nail in the coffin of the music industry. Then all of a sudden, it was undeniably proved that if the music was good enough, people would still buy it. The band themselves continued to remind people that their early success was down to great gigs and handing out free CDs at the concerts. As guitarist Jamie Cook explained, the music industry focusing in on one new medium as their saviour is bound to lead to problems.
We did that just by fluke and accident, and I think tunes were good. But then then people go, oh, this works, and then people that don't understand how that happened and they'll just ruin it. You know what I mean? He'll just get ruined eventually and then someone will have to do something else.
One of the album's many highlights is Mardy Bum, a huge fan favourite. Matt and Alex.
Like, quite a mellow song. It's
the softest sounded sort of riff and that. And it's very good when you get all boys there with.
But it definitely is a good one to play live. Like at Reading Festival, that was insane.
argumentative, and you've got the face on.
In a move that speaks volumes about their attitude, the band never released Mighty Bum as a single, despite considerable pressure, and instead on April the 24th released an EP called Who the F*** Are Arctic Monkeys? It featured 4 new songs, making it ineligible for the charts, but these new tunes were the band's most melancholic, personal and introspective to date, and increasing disillusionment with success was there to see, not so much between the lines as right in front of people's eyes. Around this time it was announced that bassist Andy Nicholson wouldn't be playing on the Arctic Monkeys American tour due to fatigue following an intensive period of touring. Though soon after, Turner, Cook and Helders confirmed he'd left the band for good. Nick O'Malley, bassist with the Sheffield rock band The Dodgems, was drafted in as a temporary bass player for the tour and was confirmed as a full-time member of the band soon after. Arctic Monkeys' first release without Nicholson was a brand new track, Leave Before the Lights Come On, which reached number 4 when it was released on August the 14th, just days ahead of a triumphant headlining appearance at the Reading and Leeds festivals.
Well, this is a good idea. You wouldn't do it if it wasn't. You wouldn't do it if it wasn't one.
Although the Mercury Music Prize is traditionally an unpredictable affair, from the minute the bookies gave the Arctic Monkeys odds which froze out all the other nominees, including Richard Hawley, Muse editors and Tom York, there was almost a sense of inevitability surrounding the event.
The winner of the 2006 Nationwide Mercury Prize is Arctic Monkeys! For their album, Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I Am Not.
Somebody call 999, Richard Hawley's been robbed.
Yeah, it was funny as well. It made me piss myself laughing, you know. And I was quite relieved because at that point I was pissed, so I wouldn't have to think of anything to say. No, but they deserved it, you know. They deserved to win. I think their album, you know, is amazing. A new one as well. It's great. We had a laugh. We were all sat together, you know, as well. So it was like Sheffield contingent just getting pissed, ignoring all the bullshit, you know.
No, thanks ever so much, like everyone that's helped us and that. And no, because normally, you know, I don't go to a band that's, I suppose, sold as many records as we have. Like, but let's put it bluntly, but like, you know, but it's still, you know, we're very, very pleased with it because it's just like good tunes really. That's like what I think we've like tried to do. Whoa, steady on. And and no like tricks really, because there's too many people trying to do too many tricks. So like, thank you ever so much anyway. Yeah, push on.
The final song on the album, and the one that Alex would refer to as indicative of the band's future direction, was A Certain Romance. It also stands apart from the afternoon, night out and morning after narrative of the record. It was also the last, and probably the most significant track the band recorded during the sessions. Jim Abyss.
That song was all about, it had to feel like the right moment, and it would be one take, warts and all, and let's hope we get it. So that's a kind of bit of a nerve-wracking thing in the studio, because you have the facilities to do it endless times. But they were adamant that when it felt right, they'd just have a little play, they'd go for it, and that would be it. And I just thought, well, they got balls. If they're prepared to have something on their record that isn't perfect, fair play. And they got it in one take. And at the end of it, I just thought, well, I've witnessed something fantastic. It's why I do the job.
You know, a lot of them are quite specific. It's like, that happened, and that song came from it. This one more like
a few things happened.
And it just, I don't know. And we'll never be able to do that again, I don't think.
It's such a romantic tune. A lot of the songs they're cheeky or they're aggressive or whatever they are, and that one is kind of sentimental and romantic, and I think it meant the most to them.
It's more just like, it's always been as finisher. It's like it is a conclusion. It's a lot more, not vague, but like kind of reflective.
Tracky bottoms tucked in socks, but all of that's what the point is not.
Arctic Monkeys would go on to receive more awards, release an equally impassioned second album and headline Glastonbury, but the level of success that they reached with their debut album stands alone as a remarkable achievement in British music. Disregarding any MySpace sensationalism and setting aside their current status as one of the country's biggest bands, it's important to remember that the songs alone are responsible for their massive popularity. Without their classic melodic skills and Alex Turner's inspired, insightful, realistic, romantic and assured lyrics, any amount of internet hype, aspirational media exposure or civic pride would have come to nothing.
I think in some ways that the batch of songs in that record kind of go back to what the early Beatles were about. They were stories about real life that anyone could identify with.
It's got that thing what a lot of great records have, you know, the Jam or Oasis. Stone Roses album kind of described what it were like to be of a certain age at a certain time. You know, it's like a snapshot in it, a camera. Plus it's just banging, it's just great tunes, you know.
It was taking almost like kitchen sink dramas and the mundane stuff of everyday life, but elevating it to important rock and roll statements, you know. Hanging out in clubs and deciding whether you should go over and talk to a girl because you really fancy her. Well, you know, it feels like the smallest thing in the world, but actually when you're in that situation, it's the biggest thing in your life.
Well, you won't get me to go, not anywhere, not anywhere, no, I won't go. Oh, no, no.
They tell the truth, you know, and I think it's a perspective on things that are kind of everybody, you know, that happens occasionally. You'll get like bands that'll, it's like zeitgeist or something, you know, it'll capture the moment, and they, you know, they did it perfectly, I think, you know. And I just like their blasé kind of... It's not that they don't care, because they care very much, but they just don't want to enter into the jumping through hoops, you know.
Another thing that I was surprised wasn't written about was that what a great singer he is. Everyone picked up on the internet phenomena. You forget the fact that they're great musicians, and he's an amazing singer. He's a classic British rock and roll singer. There ain't many of them, and he's right up there.
It's honest, and I think like you can hear that. It's not contrived in any way. They're not trying to be like Men of the People or trying to do this like hey up Yorkshire thing. It's just real, and anything that's come after that might be more contrived or whatever, but that's just, you know, the first kind of statement, and it's real.
To have been involved in what I consider to be a classic record is a privilege.
Because it's done it on more than one level, if you know what I mean. And like, I don't know, a lot of different people got it and stuff, and like, I don't think it's like burnt its out in any way. Like, it's about music, it's about like, we wrote them tunes, and we went and played them tunes to people like as far as we could, like, and we didn't like try and do a MySpace thing or whatever, you know what I mean? It weren't, it gets misconstrued that we like had this mad plan to sort of get through to people by using internet or whatever and stuff, and it weren't about that. It was about like, we wrote tunes and we went and played them, and we tried to push on like musically and sort of do something a bit different and put a lot of thought and work into it, and that's what we did.
Whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not acquits itself simply as an incredible collection of songs. One that stands up easily next to records by the Stone Roses, Oasis, the Smiths, the Sex Pistols, even the Beatles, as one of the very greatest British debut albums ever recorded. I'm Matt Everett, you're listening to XFM, and that was the making of Arctic Monkeys, whatever